Live stream working without much difficulty, which is supposedly what we want, right? So where are we at today? Let's take a look. We're on Friday, the 23rd of January, 8:27 in the morning. We got a lot of crazy news today. I'm not kidding. With Trump and the Senate guy in the Senate, and also other congressmen have started in, not officially yet, but they've started talking about an Article 25 throwing Trump out of office because he's out of his mind. He can't fulfill the office correctly, that sort of thing. Okay, so we're going to go into that. I'm going to give you all the ins and outs and details about that. We're going to talk about Trump's latest and greatest boastings that seem to be unfounded. We're going to talk about the war and the build-up and what it looks like and how it may go down and how Israel may not be affected with a mind on we're in recompenses. And we'll try to take a shot at timing on this. And what else? We'll try to get a feel for where we're at with Bible prophecy. And these are the Bible prophecies the church generally doesn't use. I did pick up another churchianity guy using Jeremiah 49 Elam. A rather large churchianity guy talking about it. That's okay. Let him talk about it. And that's kind of what we're going to do today. It'll be a fun thing. I've got a lot of facts, and they are officially now talking about the Bush aircraft carrier group showing up, and they're saying that the Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier group's in the Arabian Sea, but it's, I don't think yet, close enough. Probably tomorrow it will be. There's a lot of people running around saying Trump's going to start the war this weekend. Maybe. If the Bush aircraft carrier group is in position, probably in the Mediterranean, they just sent another destroyer into the Mediterranean. America did. So that might be to meet the Bush aircraft carrier group and beef it up. Or it might be just to try to help do takedowns for Israel with missiles. I'm not sure. What else? So we'll get into the whole thing. There is a rather substantial military buildup, but Biden did much more than this, and it didn't scare Iran. So we'll get into it, and we'll also talk about Gaza and, Trump's border peace and all this stuff. Okay. Let me go into the live stream and make sure we got a live stream, people coming in, and we got sound and picture, and et cetera, et cetera. Okay. We have sound and picture. And make sure we got a live stream. Thank you to the moderators. We got sound and picture, and et cetera, et cetera. Let me get the volume down. We have. I'm going to put a post up here quickly. I'll be done probably in a few seconds. It's not a big thing. Okay, got that done. And let me kill the sound. Okay, I'm going to do some praise, being a Bible believing site. If you want to join in, being a believer, you can. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, so let me go to my notes here and get going. The new interesting thing with the Iranian threats. Now, Iran is threatening various people in the world about 5 times a day with their officials. So they are scared. Now, let's get this down. Is Iran likely to just submit and surrender and give up? And no, why? Khomeini will probably wind up dead. Does that mean Trump will send special forces in and put a bullet in his head or something? No, no, no. He would capture Khomeini, then he would put Khomeini on various airplanes, bring him to the same place Maduro is, which would be in the New York City federal prison, and he would be tried for horrendous crimes. Even the UN yesterday is admitting, big shots at the UN, is admitting the death toll in Iran is at least 20,000 from Khomeini killing his protester civilians. I told you it's probably 20,000 on the low side, could be 50,000. I think it's much higher. If the UN is copping to 20,000, it's much higher. Okay? Yeah. I mean, believe me, they're friends of terrorism. So it could be 40, 50,000. Does Trump have an idea? Trump has probably rough cuts, you know. I don't think they have any precision on this yet. Okay. So the Iranians have now threatened to attack the U.S. bases in Oman and Turkey, in addition to the standard threatenings of hitting bases. So let me give you a recap onto what this involves so you understand. The places that Iran in the Middle East is not threatening to hit is Iraq, Yemen, Gaza, and Lebanon and Egypt, which really isn't in the Middle East, but it is and it isn't. Okay. So who are they threatening to hit if war breaks out? The American bases. Where are they? Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Jordan. There are bases in Syria, so they'll hit them. They have no love for Syria. And Saudi Arabia. So let's do a country count. Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Jordan, Saudi Arabia. So we got 7 countries they want to drag into this thing. Now, I want to caution you to this. Do you think these countries might retaliate against Iran if Iran starts attacking missile bases or American bases in their territory? Maybe not, but Iran has also got a vested interest in striking their oil. Now, would they strike back? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Why? Because they're cowardly nations, and they realize that Trump is here gunning for Iran, would force Germany, France, and the UK are also here gunning for Iran, as is Israel. So they say, well, this is a great time to get rid of that jackass Khomeini, right? They can live fine with the Shah's son. The Shah's son will get along with them, no problem. Prophetically, I don't think this is the way it's going to play. But so they might want to bomb Iran too. They might want to do a lot of things to Iran. I don't know what. Iran has not evacuated their embassies in Europe yet, but they have been moving stuff out. What the thought is confidential secret documents and things like this are being removed. That could be various encryption machines, right? It could be encryption devices for phones or radio transmissions, or I don't know what else, weapons, I don't know. So they're not removing the personnel at this point, but they're removing the things from inside the embassy, and they might, they likely will tell the employees to just hunker down at home, because if mobs break loose, they're probably not going to know where these Iranian ambassadors live, you know, and Iran doesn't care about them. You got to understand that. Hey, you're dead. You're a martyr. Congratulations. You know. Now that the personnel have evacuated or removed security information, devices, and other things that Iran considers valuable and confidential, the next step might be removing the personnel. Okay? If the personnel are removed first, then who the heck's going to take out the security documents? Right? Okay, so that's where that's at. All right, so in the next day or two, we take a look at that. All right. I have yet to get a report as to where the Bush aircraft carrier group is located. All we can do is guesstimate. It should be someplace in the Mediterranean, at least by Cyprus or something by now. But they're not talking about it. Now, Trump did say he's bringing a big flotilla, and he called it an armada and stuff like that, into the region. First of all, that will not impress Iran. Biden had, I think, 42 ships here at one point during the war with Iran, but you know, when we were fighting Hamas and all that. And that counted a few foreign ships, which quickly left. Trump doesn't have anywhere near that right now. I'm thinking maybe, I don't even think he has 12, maybe 12, 14 at tops. There is no confirmation of another armada or flotilla or anything coming to the Middle East from the Pentagon or being carried in any major newspaper or prepper sites tracking these ships, nothing. So it could be something Trump intends to do. If he intends to do it, he likely is going to do it and wait for them to come here before he attacks. And that could be another cover-up to cover up Trump's cowardice and fear of attacking Iran. He's just going to perpetually keep finding reasons why he's not ready to attack. I don't know. On the other hand, Trump may really want to attack Iran at this point. Trump started going to Davos which is in Schweizland, in Switzerland, the other day, and he had to turn back after his plane took off, stating that there was an electrical issue. What I don't think the conspiracy people are saying is that they uncovered some sort of an attack by Iran on the aircraft, and the aircraft was in trouble. Do I think that's true? No, I don't. I don't think it's true at all. But you never know. But I doubt it. On a 10 scale, I'd give it a half, not even a 1. Now, the Roosevelt is the name of the destroyer. There is a Teddy Roosevelt aircraft carrier that's in the Pacific now, but this is a destroyer named Roosevelt. So it could be Franklin Delano Roosevelt, right? Going into the Mediterranean. All right. That might be the only ship that's going to be in the Mediterranean, or the Bush aircraft carrier may go into the Mediterranean. I don't know. Now, pay close attention to this. In the last 24 or so hours, so maybe 30 hours, 32 hours, or something like that, there were 5 mysterious, substantial explosions in Tehran. Now, we've seen this before. We don't know who did it. Nobody's taking credit. We don't know a lot about it. The internet is down. The phones are down. People in Iran are saying that they keep trying to dial their cell phones, and every now and then they could get through. But the way I heard it is maybe 5%, 10% of the time, or pretty low. All right, so we don't really have a lot of understanding as to what these mysterious explosions were from, and Israel and America are not talking about this, which means we don't know what happened. They may not have done it. Protesters could have gotten to do this. I don't know. Are there special forces soldiers in Iran? It could be. I don't know. Now, this is extremely, extremely important. Gold hit a new high in the last 24 hours, and it's shocking. $4,965 an ounce. So in a sneeze, it'll break 5,000. Okay? Anything happens with Iran, with anything, it'll break 5,000. Anything blows up in the Middle East, it'll break 5,000. Now, the silver hit a new high too, $99.09. Now, if anything happens in Iraq, it'll blow these two up. So what I'm telling you here is gold is right at the edge of hitting 5,000, which is the biggest resistance point gold ever faced in the history of us, getting prices to trade gold, right? And the same for silver at 99.09. So I am going to have to start thinking that if the wars haven't broken out and the gold and silver is this high, when the war breaks out, if it does, which it likely will, the gold and the silver are going to skyrocket from there. I would think, getting from 5,000 to 7,500 with gold isn't going to take a lot. And getting from $99 in silver to 200 at least, maybe 300 even at this point, is not going to take a lot. Now, when you price ounces of silver, remember, when you read these numbers, 99.09 an ounce, those ounces are not 16 ounces to a pound. Those ounces are 14.5 ounces to a pound. Okay? So it's not the same as when you go to buy a pound of flour. It's different. All right? This is phenomenal. So we're right on the cusp of this. And that means that the world at large is in fear. Okay? Now, let's talk about Iran and the war, and let's just get a handle on what is going down and what's not going down and all that other stuff, okay? First of all, Trump's a liar and a fibber, okay? And he may have every intention of not attacking Iran. He does not understand the Middle East and the mentality at all. And he never will. So what he's doing is trying to scare Khomeini into resigning. You know, you can go to Russia, you can take your money, you can take your family, you could take 5 or 10 other guys or something, and that's it. And then you just pull out. Now, does that mean the IRGC and the other military in Iran and the intelligence services, like, they're going to have 2 intelligence services or 1 intelligence service or 2 divisions? One is going to deal with international, and they'll have divisions, like they'll have a Brazil division, an India division, a China division, And they'll also have an internal intelligence service, like an FBI. But they're not going to be chasing criminality. They're going to be just doing intelligence work. Okay? Not common criminality, like stolen cars or credit cards. They're not going to do that. All right? Then you'll also have a military intelligence. Now, in some countries like America, you have Navy intelligence, you have Air Force intelligence, Army intelligence, Marines, I don't know if they have their own, and Navy. Coast Guard, too. They're special agents. They have credentials and badges and guns and some very limited power of arrest. If you ever encountered them and you're not in the military and you don't work for the government, you probably had a knock on the door and somebody told you they were investigating somebody for a security clearance and they wanted to ask you a few questions, and they were extremely nice to you, polite and everything else, and very patient with you and all of that. Okay. If you don't work or live on a military base or work for the military, you probably would never have encounters with these people. Okay? In America. All right. So if Khomeini goes, what are these other people going to do? How do you know some general doesn't say, let's take on the fight? Letting Khomeini take his money, that helps. Why? Let him clean it all out and leave Iran broke. Then there's nobody to take over. If he has $250 billion, let it go. Then what? It will give it to Putin. Putin will take $25 billion as a commission. Tell Khomeini, Go find yourself a mansion. I'll give you 100 soldiers. I'll give you some armored vehicles. I'll put some tanks around your house and have a good time. You know. Khomeini's not a Muslim. He's a Satan bite. So is Putin. All right. And this is what Trump wants. He wants like a Maduro scenario. The leader is in jail. Would they likely put Khomeini to death? I guess so. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Once he's in jail facing trial, Trump got the victory. Now, Yemen doesn't know what to do. Lebanon doesn't know what to do. Hamas doesn't know what to do. And Iraq doesn't know what to do. It's a big win. Okay? So, prophecy gives us a check against this right here. In Jeremiah 49, Edom and its destruction is portrayed. Edom is Yemen. Okay? Don't buy into the lie that that Yemen is a really nice country. It's just the Houthis. It's nonsense. It becomes a wasteland forever. Nobody inhabits it. So that makes me think that Yemen isn't going to be too quick to make any kind of a deal with anybody like Israel or America. The Houthis said if a war breaks out with Iran, they're going to attack American ships. Now, this is like, you can interpret this statement two ways. One, they're going to attack American merchant marine shipping or civilian vessels in the area. But the problem with that is there's practically none. So that doesn't look too productive. I think they'll start attacking most shipping in the Persian Gulf, not the Persian Gulf, the Red Sea, and the area under the Red Sea and so forth, and wherever they could hit. And they'll also they'll attack any American military vessel they can attack. So that's what I think is going to happen. I'm quite sure of it, actually. Okay? There was numerous good reports that 5,600 American Special Forces guys were moved close to Iran. Now, when you say Special Forces, you got to take into account Rangers, the Army Rangers, you got to take into account Recon Marines, Navy SEALs, Green Berets, Delta. Air Force has Special Forces. I don't think the Coast Guard does. I don't believe that. In war, the Coast Guard merges into the Navy, and the Navy admirals take control. There still are Coast Guard admirals, but they're submitted under the Navy. They'll be treated with due respect and all that. But so they don't really need intelligence because they could, or special forces, they could use those that the Navy has. The Air Force ones that they have are predominantly concerned with protecting bases and rescuing downed pilots. I don't think they do much else. They're not infantry. Why would they? You know? And I don't think they do that much with protecting bases. They have uniformed personnel for that, regular like AP, Air Police, that maybe they train and supervise, something like that. Okay. So let's talk about reality. Does Iran think they can repel the attack or defend against it at a high level like Israel might? No. No, they know they can't. Now, they've been given new weapons by China and Russia, and a lot from China. We don't know what they are, but we suspect they were heavily defensive weapons. In other words, helping Iran protect against aircraft and missiles and drones. So Iran's going to have to test those to see how effective they are against America. We don't know yet, right? So don't make any conclusions and say you listen to this guy online who's a pilot and who used to be a pilot and he said this, that. He's getting a pension from the American military and he's going to go rah, rah, rah all the time. No, that's biased information. Don't believe that kind of stuff. These are often nice people. They're not Satan butts, but they're brainwashed gung-ho America, okay? And they generally can care less what America does to other countries, including Israel. So remember that. Iran's going to try to defend itself as best as it can. And they're going to try to, they know they're going to take damage and they're going to try to sustain it. They're going to try to take it. A lot of what they got is underground, deep. They will likely try to counterattack the American bases at first in the Middle East because it would be them that's leading the charge. And America would Iran would try to retaliate just to the American bases. That likely won't work. Trump will just put up with it. The guys on the bases will hunker down in shelters and nothing's going to come of it. Damage. The next thing Iran's going to do is start hitting the oil refineries of the OPEC countries, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and so forth, right? Now, that's going to get them very mad. They're going to be easy targets. They're going to get a lot of good hits. They're going to light the refineries on fire. They're going to hit oil storage tanks. And they may decide to take out ports and piers. They probably will, to really damage the flow of oil. That's when you'll see gold go like no stopping. It may go all the way to 10,000. Okay? I don't know. It may go over. I really don't know. Okay? Gasoline will at least double, probably triple or quadruple. It'll go crazy. All right. Let's continue. Who else is going to be hitting Iran? Well, it seems I heard somebody say they set Jordan up as a stationary aircraft carrier. Yeah, they did. They're using a base in Jordan, and they're bringing aircraft in there. 50 F-15s just got there, um, and I'm sure F-35s are coming. Other stuff, okay. Um, they're also using Cyprus. So who's this? Well, Germany, France, and the UK. Are they going to be attacking Iran with America? It appears so, yes. Yes. You got to, leave room for Trump to screw it up because of his ego, but it doesn't look that way. Okay. So now let's say it broke out. A first problem we got is who's going to fire the first shot. It seems there's a significant reluctance on Iran to fire the first shot because they know best thing they're going to get, $500 billion or $1 trillion in damage or more. So they're not going to want to fire the first shot. And Trump is cowardly. I don't think he will either. So they'll be sitting there having a spitting contest who can spit the farthest, and like two kids. And we'll have to just wait and see when and if any of them gets the guts to attack. I don't know. In the meantime, Iran, intelligently, from their perverted point of view, is continuing to make war on the protesters. Now, what if Trump is smart, and I think him and his Pentagon are smart enough to figure this out for sure, they're going to try to manage and run the protesters against the Iranian government while the war is taking place. That will work unless Iran launches drones and missiles in their own cities against the protesters, which I doubt they'll do. So the protesters are going to be attacking government buildings while these bombings and missile attacks go on because the Americans can easily, or the Israelis or whoever, can easily make sure they don't hurt these people. They'll coordinate with America, and they'll be given intel and told where to go to attack so they could attack courts, they could attack a prison, they could attack tax offices, military offices, immigration offices, anything and everything belonging to the government. You attack. If they got a ministry of food, you attack it. If they got a ministry of flowers, you attack it. If they got a ministry of snow tires, you attack it. Whatever they got, you attack. You destroy the building. Now, what that does is it unseats the government by proxy, but still unseats them because they got no place to rule out of. You got to destroy all of their image of ruling. And while they're sitting there dealing with missiles, bombs, and drones day and night, what are they going to do to the protesters? Well, Same thing they did in the last few weeks. They'll launch the IRGC and these other budgies volunteer militia on them to gun them down most brutally. They might start using hand grenades. They might even start using artillery, shoulder-fired rockets, anti-tank rockets to blow up in the crowd. I don't know. But I can guarantee you they're going to start mowing them down. So now how does this work? Well, now Trump gets a call, because they'll have communications. It'll be given to them. They get a call. Hey, we're at, Lenin Square or something, and we're taking fire. Okay. Now we got jets loitering in the skies, right? So, okay, the base looks up the GPS coordinates for Lenin Square, let's say, or I probably should say Khomeini Square, and then the jets go over there, and they're going to have to come in low to see what they're doing so they don't hit the wrong people. Maybe they'll send warthogs, which would be the perfect. The warthogs see the IRGC. They have uniforms, military vehicles, rifles, easy, right? Then the pilot lines them up and goes, "Blah!" And the machine gun that they got on this thing sounds like, "Blah! Blah!" Dozens of bullets go out in a second or two, and it doesn't shoot 50 caliber. It shoots 20 millimeter. That's a 1-pound projectile. It'll rip up military vehicles, rips up people. So the warthogs, and there'll be a bunch of them, not one, they fly towards the IRGC and the other guys, and they're not going to get 2,000 feet away. They're going to be a lot further, and they'll be at altitude. They'll probably be at least at I would say at least 2,500 to 5,000 feet, something like that. They pull the trigger on that Gatling gun, and it just sprays the area with, they were using this stuff in Vietnam, and these planes could just drop a whole battalion in seconds. They're not going to have whole battalions. They'll have a dozen of these guys at a time, That's it. They're all laying on the ground, Now, they might have special forces, American, there with the protesters, hiding maybe in cars or in apartments or rooftops or something, or hiding a mile or two away, deploying drones and getting the GPS on the drones. Now, let me tell you something else that could be done. These special forces with the drones, they could just plummet the drone into the IRGC and blow 5 or 10 of them up at one time. A few episodes like this, okay, not many, I would say maximum a dozen, are going to get the IRGC and these other guys really scared to start engaging the protesters. Because eyes in the skies are going to kill them. Okay? So that's going to thwart Iran. Okay? You got to understand that. They're not going to make it, because they're not going to be able to convince day after day the IRGC and these volunteer militias to go out there and commit suicide to save Khomeini. It may happen for a few hours, but after repeated destructions to them, they're going to not think that's a viable thing to do. The next progression would be snipers, because they could lay on a rooftop and cover themselves with something, obscure their presence and snipe at the protesters, dropping them. Okay. Now, they could be targeted too. So what these characters would need to do is fire 2 or 3 or 4 rounds into people quickly, or 5 even, and then pack up the gun and get out of there. The special forces guys are probably not going to have anti-sniper gear and try to pick them off. I don't think they're going to bother with that. They may try to run a drone on them, and that's about it. So this is some of the stuff you're going to see. What I would predict here, hands down, is in a few hours, Iran will lose control over the protesters. They can't do anything about the warthogs. Remember, when it gets this bad, the radar has already been destroyed. The ground-to-air defenses have been destroyed. Can they sit there with a machine gun and attack a warthog at 2,000 or 3,000 feet up in the air? Yeah, they could attack it. What are the chances of them hitting it? 1 in 20, 1 in 50. The warthogs are relatively armored anyway. It's not going to do anything. They're not going to get anywhere with that. What about using attack helicopters? Would America try that? Well, the vulnerability of an attack helicopter gets higher, but they might try it. The Iranians would undoubtedly issue ground-to-air shoulder-fired weapons. In other words, anti-aircraft shoulder-fired weapons, but theirs are probably not very good, and they're probably going to be an annoyance at a high level to the American forces doing this, but it's not going to, they probably won't bring planes down with it. So what I'm telling you is it's likely that the protesters will be involved. They will be safe from American forces. They will have help with boots on the ground, and they will take out and destroy all the infrastructure of the Iranian government in a lot of cities. And that will keep the Iranian government is going to lose its image of we're still in control if all their government offices are on fire. Even if they have a geological survey office, burn it. If they have a beach and lake office, burn it. Anything, burn it. Burn the banks. Burn everything, and then it falls apart. That's their agenda. That's what they'll do. Now, let's say Iran hits some of these other bozo countries like Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Saudi, Jordan. Are these guys going to want their pound of flesh? Yeah. What can they do? Well, if it gets to it, they can go in by ground. Not easily, but they could. But what they could do is rather instantly is attack with their aircraft. They have aircraft. And make it even worse. Now, in the middle of this, you've got Germany, UK, and France attacking targets in Iran also. And they're predominantly going out of really 2 places, Jordan and Cyprus. I don't believe that Iran could do anything to Cyprus. Getting them in Jordan, they could attack Jordan. Iraq could attack Jordan. And yeah, it could get hairy in Jordan. Yeah. Israel may try to do takedowns for Jordan because Jordan does it for Israel. I don't know. So Jordan is now a forward operating base in the attack on Iran. And so would be Saudi Arabia, I believe, and Qatar. in quite a few places. Now, we might have to take out the Iranian Navy, which isn't much of a navy, but we might have to take them out because they may try shutting the Persian Gulf for two reasons. One, keep American warships out of their backyard, which would be wise on their point, for them to do. And the other thing would be to wreck oil prices in the world and cause pain to America. See, the way Iran's going to get out of this, most likely, is not by destroying everybody in the Middle East, and then there's nobody left to attack them. No, I don't think so. It's more like, let me try to punish my enemies and draw them into a treaty with us. That's the way Iran's going to play it. And they're going to try to get a lifting of the sanctions and everything else. They're not talking about this in the media, but you could get it by listening to the Shah's son. He's telling him, get out there and keep the protests going. So, essentially he's telling them keep protesting, and they're going to use these people to finish it off. So if Trump gets his way, all that he really ever used was so, you could have so many fronts on Iran. Let me give it to you, okay? You have a front coming by air from UK, France, Germany, America, and Israel may not be in the fight. Trump and America have always never wanted to fight shoulder to shoulder with Israel. And England and Germany and France are not going to like that idea either, because they're afraid of repercussions from the Muslims, internally and externally. So they might just tell Israel to just stay on alert. I actually suspect this. If that happens, will Iran attack Israel? My comment would be no, because they know if they attack Israel, Netanyahu is going to take 60 or 100 airplanes and send them there round the clock with refueling tankers to blow the daylights out of Iran day after day after day after day, and they never stop. So he might say, I don't know, just leave them alone. They're not attacking me, leave them alone. It's a very possible thing. Attacking Israel in this scenario isn't going to do anything for him. Okay? This is recompenses now. Yes, the 2,000 years is still operating, but we're in a different phase of that punishment. We're in recompenses over the controversy of Zion, where he's punishing the nations. Let's read the scripture. Isaiah 34, verse 8. The idiots at iPad did an upgrade, and now a lot of websites you go to where you got to click on something, you can't click on something. Morons. So now we got to wait for another update. Could you imagine what idiots they are at Apple to release an update for iPad, which, what do they got? 83 million iPads or 29 million or something like that. And it doesn't let you click with multiple browsers. You can't click and go places, not every place, but a lot of places. Do you got to understand what a bad company that is? Do you understand that? That they don't have anybody there that has enough brains to do a good test on the update before they let it out? Yeah. Unbelievable, isn't it? Maybe they've been eating too much tossed salad. Now, tossed salad leads to mental deterioration. As you repeat the tossed salad, you get mental deterioration. Okay. Isaiah 34, verse 8. For it is the Shanat, it's the prophetic period of the Lord. It says the day. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. No, back up. The day of the Lord's vengeance. Now, the day of vengeance, that's real. That is likely a day. The word is Yom. It doesn't have any indication of being a prophetic time period. We don't know. Okay. The day of the Lord's vengeance, it says, for it is the day of the Lord's vengeance and the year of recompenses. Now, the word for year is not calendar year, it's Shanat, a prophetic time period. Now, a day of vengeance can't be the same as a larger prophetic time period of recompenses. So, the day is obviously shorter. And then it says, for the controversy of Zion, which would be better translated for the fighting about Zion, which is Israel. So, where the 2,000-year punishment, yeah, there's still a punishment on us for sure, but it's also recompenses. So look at all the failures of these Arab states in the last few years to defeat Israel, how it's failed. They get punished. Look at Hamas. Look at Hezbollah. Look at the Houthis, although they're not that badly punished. And look at what happened in Syria. And now we're going to watch for Yemen. And we're going to watch for Iraq and Iran. And we're also going to watch for Turkey. And other countries, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and see if the Lord uses Iran and Iraq to punish these countries, which he might. And then Israel just sits there and watches. That's a likely outcome. Okay? I can't say for sure, and the Iranians are crazy, and they may not be able to just live without attacking Israel, so they might just do it. I don't know. So you have multiple fronts. You got the attacks coming from UK, France, Germany, and you got America. You got American ships. You got American planes. You got missiles coming off the American ships. You got drones. I mean, my gosh, what don't you got? Ground troops. Okay, so wow, you got Trump. You got now more fronts could open. Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Saudi, Jordan want to fight back against Iran because Iran's attacking U.S. bases in their area and possibly attacking their refineries and hitting people and with missiles and drones and stuff like that. Trump is undoubtedly going to try to kidnap officials from Iran and from Iraq and possibly Yemen. Possibly Yemen. I think his high priority is Iraq and Iran, but he may focus on Yemen too. And kidnappers are going to wind up in the federal jail. The kidnapped people are going to wind up in the federal jail in New York facing trials. That's what's going to happen. Now, to compound this, Iran may use its navy to shut down the Persian Gulf, which, with 1,500 plus go-fast boats, is not going to be that difficult to do. Okay? And they got naval mines, and they got ships that are civilian boats converted into warships that launch drones and missiles. And they got real destroyers, a few, maybe 2 or 3. So they might just shut the Persian Gulf, and then that's another challenge for America. Warthogs would be really good for that. They just fly from altitude at the boat. The boat's a big target from 5,000 feet. Easily, you can hit it, no problem. Maybe 10,000 feet, you could hit it. But I don't think they're going to use their cannons at 10,000 feet. Probably 3,000, 4,000, and he flies in and just shred a boat. 3 quick bursts, could add up to 150 rounds. Shred the boat. It'll be some sort of radar controlled or something, computer controlled. So Trump got rid of Carney from Canada with the Board of Peace because he said Carney didn't want to put up $1 billion. So did these other people really put up $1 billion? Let's do some AI and see if I know Trump said that, but let's see if it actually came to pass. Regarding Trump's creation called the Board of Peace, are the members of this board actually putting up $1 billion each? Or is this just talk out of Trump's mouth? No, I don't think Netanyahu ever put up $1 billion, and Netanyahu's in on it. Trump publicly talked about a $1 billion figure relating to the membership. Okay, it's saying countries invited can serve a normal 3-year term on the board. If a country contributes $1 billion in cash within the first year, that removes the term limit and gives them so it's a soft billion. So there is no real formal payment agreement in writing, and they're not actually paying $1 billion. So it's soft. So why did he say that about Canada? Well, he's mad at the guy in Canada, that's all. So he wanted to get him out of this board of peace, so that's what he said. How meaningful is it? Not very. Remember, I don't know what authority this Board of Peace has, except within the countries that are members of the Board of Peace, which is a 20-something of them. They're probably the only ones that respect this or recognize it or pay attention to it or anything of that nature. So, it's... Don't know. I don't think it's got much teeth. Okay. Trump is talking about now with his Board of Peace that if Hamas doesn't disarm, they're going to be destroyed. Well, he's saying Iran, it'll be wiped off the map if they try to commit an assassination against him. So if Hamas in Gaza disarms, Netanyahu's going to want to go in there and arrest the ones that came in October 7th and killed children and women and cut fetuses out of women and burned people alive and raped people. You understand? And what is happening now with this Board of Peace is there's so many on the board that are Muslim states, they're going to get off. Because Trump's going to tell Netanyahu, no, it's not for you to go around and say we're going to put these people under arrest and try them. No, it's up to the Board of Peace. It's not up to you. Gaza's not Israel. You don't have the authority. Forget it. Netanyahu's going to say, okay, Donald, because he's no stinking good. Okay? Now, it looks like the president of Israel, which is like a secretary of state, has very little power in Israel. And he's talking now about, says, I'm not going to give Trump a pardon because Netanyahu a pardon because Trump wants me to. I got to pay attention to the law and the implications, but then he gives us a hint. He says this trial is so bad in Israel, the trial for Netanyahu, and it's causing so many problems for Netanyahu and Israel and stuff like that. So I got the impression that he's going to say the best thing for Israel to end the trial, which is such a painful trial and unfounded, is to just give Netanyahu a pardon. Then it would be like the Air Force pardoned them, and there'd be just no ground, It's going to be that he's not really pardoning Netanyahu. It's like he's pardoning the trial. Like he's doing it to get rid of the trial because it's so painful politically. You understand that? Okay. That's what it sounds like to me. Herzog is the character. I believe he's transactional. And that's what's going to happen. It looks like. So that's how they're going to get rid of it, and the curse of Israel reigns on Netanyahu. Except giving Netanyahu a pardon is not going to stop a vote of no confidence to throw the bum out of office. And this may actually infuriate more people, this pardon. And Netanyahu is still fighting against letting the ultra-Orthodox actually having them go into the draft in a big way. He's still trying to fight against that. And there's a lot of people in Israel that have been in the military, and they resent that because what the ultra-Orthodox are saying is, we're the chosen Jews, not you bums. You bums are just historical Jews. You don't follow the Talmud and the Kabbalah, which of course is a sick books. You're bad Jews, and your kids could go get killed in the war, not us, but we'll go pray for you instead. I mean, so this could actually turn into a trap for Netanyahu. Okay. And I don't know what Trump did. Trump could have told Herzog, hey, I'm going to put sanctions on you, jackass. You better do what I tell you, and Herzog probably, what am I going to do? So will the Hamas really disarm? Well, there's a minimal chance. It's, I don't know. If Iran is still around, maybe not. If Iran's gone, they lost their income, and then Trump is going to go back with, leave Gaza. You see, Kushner submitted a plan again for Gaza reconstruction, and it's very glitzy. What does glitzy mean? It means Trump casinos and resorts like Las Vegas. That's what it means. So how do the Gaza people fit into this? Oh, they don't. So they're talking about making a new modern eco-city in Gaza. Yeah, and they'll have it fenced with walls, probably 25-foot concrete walls. And they'll keep the Gazan people far away from the hotels. See, the hotels are not going to be very hung up on wanting to build on the eastern side of Gaza where you got a view of nothing. The big thing is the waterfront. And if it gets successful enough and all the waterfront properties are gobbled up by the big resorts, then it'll go 2 or 3 blocks inland. The cheaper hotels and resorts without a beach, will flourish. But I'm not so sure there's that many people that are going to want to go to Gaza and not stay in a resort. The resorts are going to have acres, okay? A so-so resort will have 5 or 6 acres, okay? And that's really small. The big ones will have 25, 50 acres, okay? So they'll have multiple pools, multiple jacuzzis, outdoor entertainment areas, inside casinos, showroom, what would you call it? Show palaces, where they could hold shows for the people, singers, dancers, plays, whatever, right? That seat hundreds, if not thousands of people. They're not going to have them, you know, that big. They might have some that, seat 800 people or 1,000 or something like that. And they'll have multiple restaurants. They'll be high. They're not going to be 40, 50 stories high, but they'll be, 12, 18 stories, something like that. You don't have to be high to get a good view of the ocean. If you're on the third floor or the fourth floor, you'll have an unobstructed view of the ocean. So the lobby will have atriums and stuff that go up that high, and everybody in the rooms that faces the ocean is going to have a view. Now they'll have cheaper rooms that face inland, not west east, and they have a view of the grounds of the hotel. Maybe that's it, and then they'll have parking on the east, the inland side. They'll be able to park, hundreds of cars. They'll have guards there watching it, and they'll have stuff like this, right? Like Las Vegas, you know. But when you got 25 miles of beachfront, listen to me. If you give a person 5 blocks of beachfront property and it goes back, let's say, 5 blocks, do you know how huge that is? You're talking about something that's already looking like a Disney. Not really, but you're looking like a Disney already. Not quite, but close. You're getting there, okay? You're getting like lots of grounds. You don't need to be a Disney. You're not a theme park, okay? So you'll have, if you go 5 blocks, then 20 blocks to a mile. So you can put 4 of these mega hotels in a mile. So that's room for 100 of these mega hotels. You're probably not going to get that many. You'll get 25. 1 or 2 of them will probably get a space that'll be like a half a mile by a quarter of a mile in. You know how big something like that is it's big, okay? It's huge. It's 2,500 feet of beachfront. And they'll go up 40 stories. You know how many people they could stuff in that hotel? And the people are going to want that because they can go to the beach. The beach will be private, no trespassing. They'll have some kind of markers and they'll have guards there, probably without guns, to stop people, maybe with guns, to stop people from, probably without, to stop people from coming in from other hotels or whatever. And these people will have Shea lounges. They'll be able to rent cabanas, which will probably be $400 or $500 a day, and they'll be able to get jet ski riding and parasailing and go out on little miniature submarines and go fishing and deep sea fishing on yachts or big fishing boats and stuff like this. There'll be a yacht harbor there someplace. People will put yachts there. They'll have an airport there. They'll have a private plane section and a public airport. They'll have at least 2 malls with shopping. They'll probably have a high-end mall. And then they'll have a mall with discount designer goods. And they'll have duty-free shopping, probably dead cold duty-free shopping like the UAE, so you'll be able to buy real cheap. And they'll they'll have probably 15 or 20 really high-end gourmet restaurants spread around the different hotels or in the malls or whatever. And they'll have a theme park of some sort will pop up. And, how big will said theme park be? Well, it's probably not going to be on beachfront. It'll be on cheap interior land. And what do they need to do if they make it a mile by a half a mile? You got a theme park, a huge theme park. If you make it a half a mile by a half a mile, you got a decent theme park. But they'll make a good one. I don't know what they'll use. A Warner Brothers, Great America, or Universal or Disney. I doubt would do anything with them. There's other places, and there's Independence where you could put an amusement park up because they're going to want to have that for the kids. Okay, they might put two up. I mean, you could put a Ferrari World up. You can a lot of things that can go up there, right? Lots of things, and they'll will they have offshore banking there? Trump doesn't like that. They're not going to want to do that. Um, will they have apartments there? Yeah, for the Gaza people. What about people that want to buy apartments or condos there for vacation living? Yeah, they'll put those up. They'll put beachfront too. They'll probably have 10 of those, maybe 15. And they'll probably be about 12 stories. And there'll be one bedroom, two bedroom, maybe three bedroom. And that's for people that want to come to the resort and they don't want a hotel, they want to have their own place. Maybe they want to stay a month or something like that. So they'll have that. Do I think this is ever going to get built? No, I don't. Will they make work for people? Yes. What kind of work is going to be there? A lot. You're going to need a country operating thing. Like what? Well, you're going to need somebody running electricity, somebody running water, somebody running sewage, somebody running cell phone and the internet. So they'll have to have a big, some place where they got, like 80, 90 people living there or working there or maybe more to keep all the power and, the water and all that running, right? Okay. Then you need traffic. You need people to direct traffic and make sure people don't park in the street and stuff like that and control traffic lights and all of this. Then you're going to need a health department to make sure that the hotels adhere to standards so you don't have people opening up restaurants, in a mall and, poisoning the food because they're dirty and sloppy. They're going to have that. Well, you're probably going to need 15, 20 people or 30 people in a health department. You'll have to have clinics there. There'll probably be. Is somebody going to open up a state of the art hospital for $300 million? I don't know. I don't know. It depends how many Gazans are there. Maybe. I don't know. But what they would normally open up is something where they could do lightweight surgery for trauma, nothing critical. If there's something that's really bad, they would probably put them on a helicopter and fly them to Jerusalem Hospital or Tel Aviv Hospital or somewhere in Israel where they would get serious treatment. The flight time with a helicopter would be a matter of minutes, 20, 30 minutes max, probably. So stabilizing somebody for a life flight at that duration is not that difficult, but can be. And they would be mostly there treating somebody that sprains an ankle, has a flu, upset stomach, cut themselves, need a few stitches. Um, you know, things of this nature, not anything really critical, okay? Uh, Appendicitis would probably go on a helicopter to Israel. Um, so it'd be like kind of treating people on a cruise ship, you know. If it's serious, put them on a helicopter and get them out. If it's minor, you know, take care of it, right? So somebody has a backache, they fell, their neck is out of joint, or they got off the plane and their shoulder is out, you know. So what would they do? Give them anti-inflammatories, pain pills, stuff like that, and either they get better or they don't. But they're not going to do any treatment of them over there. You'll have massage therapists in all the hotels. You'll have beauty parlors in the hotels. The hotels will have stores, lots of stores, and restaurants, and gambling all over the place. And it'll be crooked gambling, of course, like they all are, cheating. They'll have every kind of gambling in the world. Will there be a stock market there? Oh, I don't think so. Would there be a military there? Well, they're going to need something. They'll have to have a military there. But they'll keep it away from the people. They'll keep it out of sight. They'll have a police there. They'll dress them up spiffy. And they'll have, you know, maybe like put their pistols in a white holster that folds over so you can't really see the pistol. And they have one of those braided things up to the epaulette, you know, and make it look fancy, like in a white patent leather or something like that. That's probably what they would do. Uh, they'd have to have an immigration department. So, where are they going to get people that are going to work in the hotels that are really going to know what they're doing? Like they're going to do the maintenance on the air conditioning and the electric, you know, and they're going to be blackjack dealers and roulette croupiers. Crooked as a dog's hind leg, of course. Where are they going to get them from? Well, they're not going to get them from Gaza. They don't have them. I don't think these people have the capability of doing it. And having people that speak Arabic isn't going to do you much good because the Arabic world is largely Muslim. They're not going to be going there to gamble and drink. And so, what would be the big universal languages for something like this? Well, English for one, and they're going to probably have Mandarin and Cantonese, Spanish. Then they'll have some European languages, Italian, German, French. So they'll have people that speak different languages like that, probably 7 languages or something. Um, and they'll definitely have a golf course. Uh, and they might have riding stables where you could ride somewhere around there. Probably not, but maybe. Would they have horse racing there? Yeah, they might try that. Dog racing, yeah. But it's never going to get built. This is their plans. Are they going to try to put cruise ships there? Sure. They'll probably try to handle 4 cruise ships. They build 2 big piers and they can put 2 ships on each pier. That would do it probably. If they need more, they can get up to 8 ships. Well, you could also moor ships a mile out, and just shuttle the people back and forth. So you can handle that. Um, that's what the plans are going to be, I'm sure. Uh, so they're going to try to sell people $1 million condos, you know, and stuff like that. And I don't know, you know, there's probably is never going to happen, but I'm rather sure it'll never happen. Prophetically, time won't allow. But it just shows you where Trump's head is at, how much respect he has for God. Israel fights to win the war, then they're going to spare the people that raped, plundered, killed the babies and the women and burned people alive in Israel. Those are the ones that don't want to give up. Trump's going to have to give them some assurances that they're not going to get arrested and go to jail and get hung. And then they're going to try to escape. But, the problem is that the way Israel will operate, they may launch some Mossad people after them when they leave Israel and just kill them. They may do that. I would expect it. They wouldn't bring them back for a trial or anything, just kill them. So where these Muslim murderers have to go is in a seriously insane Muslim majority country, like Turkey might work. A lot of the other countries wouldn't let them in, so I don't know, Iraq and Iran would work, but they're not long for this world, Lebanon may not work, so I don't know. This is Trump's pipe dream, and it could be the last straw with God. Could be. I didn't get yet to Trump getting thrown out of office, but I'm going to be dealing with that in a few minutes. Trump is talking about a ship, another fleet headed to the Middle East that's supposed to be a big, powerful armada, and we don't know anything about any such ship, other than the Bush aircraft carrier group, which we knew about back on the 13th of January. So I don't know what he's talking about. The Bush aircraft carrier group is not a big armada. It's probably got 3 escorts, so it's 4 ships. An armada would be like 14 ships, not 4. So, of course, Hamas said, Trump says, which Trump lies a lot, that Hamas says they'll disarm. I never heard anything like that. So I'm not really sure Hamas ever said that. I wouldn't be too surprised if Trump just made that up. Do I think Trump is actually going to go in and bomb Hamas? I don't think so. Could be wrong. So what else did we see? We saw a 4-star American general come to Amman, Jordan. I'm sorry, he's not a general. He's an admiral, Navy. A 4-star admiral. That is a top dog player. A 4-star in the United States military, there's not a lot of them. Okay, these people are like demigods in the military. They are really powerful. So he came yesterday to Amman, Jordan, which is the next fixed land aircraft carrier in the war against Iran. Okay. This makes things a lot more serious, and he was just probably going to inspect what's going on in Jordan and talk with Jordan about how things will develop. If this happens, we'll do this. If this happens, we'll do that. If this happens, you do this, you do that, and these type of last minute situations. And he probably wanted to have an inspection too, because the guy's not a fool. And if he doesn't do an inspection and there's slack built in, and then he acts on the assumption that everything's okay, and then 16,000 people got killed, well, he's mud. His name is now General Mud. Now, at the same time, a C-37A transport aircraft belonging to the Army. Now, this is one of those planes that's intended for senior government officials. Hillary Clinton used to fly on these. They're great big cargo planes. And inside the plane, they put something for lack of a better word, like a mobile home. Maybe it's 25 to 40 feet. They slide it in and they bolt it in place. And in there, it has whatever the dignitary needs. It has a conference room with a big table. It has its own probably kitchen, its own bathroom. Remember, these are just flights for 12 hours or something or less, Has its own bathroom, has its own communications, um, has maybe a bed to lay down, probably a shower and a bed. Um, and this is offered for like a Secretary of State, probably a four-star general, stuff like that can use these things. So other things travel in the plane, cargo, troops. So this person has uh, security because he's in this his own little module, and privacy. The soldiers in the plane may not even have any idea who's in there. Okay, so this C-37A plane, a dignitary plane, went to the United Arab Emirates, and I'm understanding a general, I can't say for sure, but I believe a general went to the UAE. So just like the Navy Admiral is coaching Jordan, the general is coaching the UAE and making sure everything's copacetic over there, that everything's in place. Okay? So if this goes, you've got Iraq is going to fight, the Houthis are going to fight, and Iran's going to fight. And your guess is as good as mine if China and Russia are going to let Iran go. Because if Iran goes down, that's the end of BRICS trading oil off the US dollar. Because the two big ones that were going to be in there were Russia and Iran. And Russia's very diminished in its ability to sell oil. And Iran will be gone. And the UAE is in there, but the UAE is not really dedicated to that. Um, so they're going to be getting hit by multiple countries with drones and aircraft and missiles coming off of ships. They're going to be getting electronic warfare. One of their big radar installations was out for 24 hours recently. And they may not want to attack Israel because I have a feeling Israel will not be attacking them because these other countries won't want to be fighting shoulder to shoulder with Israel. I have a prayer request. Okay, first I have two. First one, Mike Zebra, MZ, Mike Zebra, or they would say Mike Zulu, MZ, prayer requests for healing of the body. So prayer requests for MZ, healing of the body. I'll put a prayer out. My heavenly, and you can agree, my heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray for general healing of MZ. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that if you like. And we're still not done, by the way, with what's happening with throwing Trump out of office. I'm not done with that yet. Another prayer request for EB, Echo Bravo, EB, Echo Bravo. Prayer request is to have faith in Jehovah, peace and wisdom, dealing with damage to a home. So I'll put a prayer out and you can agree if you like. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I pray for EB to have faith in you, peace, joy, calm, rest, wisdom as well, and guidance to deal with damage to the house and repairs. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you can agree with that if you like. Now, I don't know how many of you are holding gold and silver, which is extremely high right now. But I, again, want to reiterate, I did this once before. You'll be leaving with gold and silver, even if you don't have any now. Just like the Jews in Egypt left with their riches, you'll get when you go. You don't need to sit on the stuff you have now. You're going to get when you go. Can you sit on the stuff you have now? Sure. Is there anything wrong with it? No. This has fallen into free will, I'd say. Are we commanded to hold and save our gold and silver for the next Exodus so we have money to travel? No. The Lord will take care of all that expense, so to speak, of traveling to get to Israel. Don't worry about that. So if some of you are in need of a car and you bought gold and silver and you've accumulated quite a value in it because of the price rises, it's by all means not wrong to go out and take that money and fix the car. You know, get the engine rebuilt, the transmission rebuilt, whatever you got to use, or buy another car. Okay, you can do that. Maybe you want to wait a few weeks and it can get a lot higher in value. I don't know. Maybe not. When the currencies go, you're not going to see, oh, gold's $11,000 an ounce. There's no currencies anymore. So gold is gold, you know. And that's that. All right. So, yeah, I mean, we don't know how long it's going to take. We're not supposed to. We don't know the day and the hour. Do I think it's going to be 10 years? No, I can't hardly say that. What do I really think right now? I think this is the big thing with Iran. And I think somehow, some way, some shape or form, it's going to go off. And then there's going to be dominoes, like a chain reaction. That's what I think. Are there countries that are not in play now in end times for Israel and Zechariah 12? Well, Turkey wasn't really in play, but now it is because it's got military convoys in Syria. Egypt's not attacking, but they're stacked up on our border. Over 100,000 troops. Hamas speaks for itself. Lebanon, Hezbollah speaks for itself. Syria speaks for itself, as does Iraq, Iran. Kuwait, nothing. Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman haven't done anything. Saudi hasn't. Jordan and Saudi and these countries are not in position yet to do anything. So, this war can change all that. I don't know. But I don't think we got a big weight, guys. So, if you had a lot of this money and you were saying, well, maybe I get a place to live, well, you can buy cheap land and put a container home on it, or a school bus home or something like that are pretty cheap. If you got a 40-foot container, it's not highly livable by itself, you know. It's 40 feet by 8 feet high, so it's 320 feet. If you get two of those, I'd say now you're in minimum of livable. You got 640 square feet, and that's like a one typical, one bedroom apartment, or even a small, rather small 2 bedroom. But if you get into 3 and 4 of these things, now you're getting into a really nice place. Okay, you could put 3 in a row and go ranch style if you don't want to have steps. Okay, or you could stack 3 up and climb steps all the time and go 3 stories high. Okay, or I don't know. There's a lot of things you could do. You could put 2 downstairs and put 2 upstairs. That's probably a more conventional. And then there's some people that have 3 and 3. So if you had 6, you'd have like a 2,000 square foot house approximately, which is rather substantial size house. Now they will decorate these things to suit. You'll have, you have floors, you have walls, you have carpeting, you have closets, you have lights, you have ventilation, you have air conditioning and heat, you have sinks, you have toilets, you have showers, you could have a bathtub. You can have probably a jacuzzi if you look for it. You don't drive them; you'd have to tow them, so there's no driving. Uh, they'll give you furniture. Or you could buy your own furniture. I don't know why you need their furniture, but you could. And there you got bedrooms and storage areas and all kinds of stuff, right? Now, what's interesting about it in Israel, if I had money, I would get it because, like I told you, we found out the problem in the back where the guest house is that we don't use. There was a hole, and we thought it was rotting, but the hole looks like it was a piece of shrapnel that fell down from a takedown of an iron dome or something, and opened up the roof. Didn't get inside. It didn't penetrate into the living area or anything like that. And then the rain was coming in, and that was going to rot out the thing, and then we were in danger of the thing collapsing. So we got that mostly repaired. It's not all fixed, but we got the guy working on it. Another expense, we needed like a hole in the head. And the landlords in Israel don't make repairs. So it's just a horrible situation. So if you had a metal container home and there was stuff going on in the skies and shrapnel hit the container, if the whole big rocket came down, would it make a hole in the container? Probably not. It would probably dent it. It may not even dent it. These containers are strong because they stack other containers on them, sometimes 4 high, ton after ton after ton after ton. These things are tough. They're tough metal. They're thick metal. And if somebody shot an AK-47 at you in the container home, well, it would bounce off. It's not going to go through. It's going to make dings, dents, If they shot a 50 cal, would it go through? Depends, maybe. Depends on how far away it is, what kind of round it was, could. But it's not common to get that. It's usually a vehicle mounted item. So you could buy some cheap land in Israel and get yourself motor homes on it. Not motorhome, container homes. You can put, 3 containers in, have yourself a nice ranch style, You walk around, and then you build the canopy in the back and put some concrete there so the canopy covers, and you could barbecue and, sit outside right by the steps to go into your mobile home, your container home, because you probably want to keep it, at least 3 feet off the ground in case there was flooding. So you have a few steps you got to deal with, big deal. And the thing's not highly prone to flooding anyway. I mean, water might come in through the door, but it's metal, and it has no holes in it or anything, so it's metal. So I don't know what's going to happen. It's not going to, you know, and you put it up on concrete, and that's, you can put it on concrete blocks, like 15 blocks, or build yourself a platform. It's cheap. Concrete's cheap. So you ain't going nowhere. Then you put the concrete there, and then you rivet the thing into the concrete, and where are you going? You're not going anywhere. So if a wind came, is it going to blow it over like a mobile home? No, the thing's solid metal. It's way heavier. It ain't blowing it over. So what about people breaking in? If there's another swarm in from Israel, well, you're in this thing, right? And what you do is they put windows in, but you have them keep flaps from the metal that they cut out to put the window in, have it so you could have it either stay below the window, flip down, or you could have it up. And having it up has advantages because it could work for shade, you know, and then have an ability when you want to, if there's bombing and stuff like that, you can close the window and have some sort of a latch inside control so people outside can't open it. And you put those flaps down over the windows, and now you got a solid steel house that's bulletproof. And how the heck is anybody going to break into it? Kick the door in, put a couple of deadbolts on the door, they have the bolts in Israel. They have doors where the bolts come out here. They got them on here and all four sides. And you got a good lock in there too. So how are you going to break into that? Kick a steel door that has bolts into a steel wall. I mean, you'd be there for days kicking it. There's all kinds of, you can put another kind of door in. You don't have to use the steel from the container. You can put something else. There's a lot of things you could do. So if you were in an air raid, you could just drop the window things down, and unless there's a direct hit on your uh, container home, nothing's going to happen. And if you were worried about a container hit on your home, what you could do is what they do with the tanks. On top of your container, you don't do nothing except you take some iron bars and you build yourself like a mesh thing like this over the top of the container, maybe a foot and a half over the container. So if some artillery or some bomb or something comes down, it'll hit that and blow up, not in contact with your container. So probably nothing would happen. But that's pretty bizarre to think a bomb or a missile's going to hit you. That's really a rare thing to happen, especially since you're not going to be in a city. You're going to be in an outlying area. It would stop shrapnel from coming down. And if you wanted to, you could cover it with solid metal, put sheet metal in there, and that would give you like a false roof and keep the heat off of you big time. And it wouldn't be likely to cause any rust or anything like that because you got a foot and a half gap in there. It would still dry out. But they're really versatile for a place like Israel. So if you want to lock your stuff up and you got to go shopping or take a trip, you could lock it up real securely in there. The only way they're going to get in then is really to have a torch and cut their way in. That would be it. The only way I think they get in. I don't think a angle grinder would be such a great idea. It might cut it. I don't know. It's a lot of cutting, Maybe. But then again, could you use a battery-powered angle grinder? I don't know. But you got a tremendous amount of security in this thing. And then there was also people that are very happy with the buses. They convert a school bus, which is probably about 40 feet long, into a home. And for for 2 people, I think you could do well in that. Get by. It'd be all right, probably. Um, and you could have these things put places wherever you want, where you got access to water and sewage, uh, electricity, or you could have the thing running on propane appliances and also be able to run it with solar. So you get yourself some of these gas things to have a delivery arranged where you get 5-foot cylinders to have them deliver 4 of them that'll last you probably 18 months or a year anyway. You get a delivery once a year, and you have your propane, which runs your heater, your air conditioner, your electric, your cooking, your hot water, and then when the weather allows, you use your solar, and you just rely on the propane for when it's cloudy and rainy and you can't get solar. So, if you bought yourself 4 or 5-foot tanks, it'd probably last you 3 years if you had solar. So that's what you do. Store the tanks, 25 feet away from the house. So if something happened with some bomb or something, it wouldn't be near you. And you could just roll it on its edge back to the house if you need it. There are a lot of things you could do, guys. You could barbecue at will because it's just right outside your house. Get yourself some sort of barbecue grill with propane or whatever you want, and just barbecue a lot of your meals outside. So essentially you're running an outside kitchen, so you're not smoking up and stinking up your house very often. That's an interesting concept, right? The other thing you could do is you could stack your home. So just the first level, you have to play that game with the window flaps so people can't break into the house. The next level up would be high up, and they probably didn't come with a ladder, so you could have regular windows up there. Just use your downstairs for your bomb shelter, because if you got a container on top of you and a missile comes in and hits that container, well, it's probably not going to damage the downstairs because it's solid steel. And remember, there's missiles and missiles. I mean, if you get a 1,000-pound warhead, there's nothing that's going to stop it except being far underground, Okay, so let's get into what they did with Trump. What is Article 25? Article 25 is a way to remove the President of the United States. And let me give you the details of how this is progressing and what's going on. And I told you when Trump started this business with the Board of Peace, they are going to probably impeach him. Now, impeachment is different by far from an Article 25. Impeachment means Trump did something wrong. Okay, legally, constitutionally incorrect. All right, an Article 25 is not that. It's that Trump lost his marbles. Okay, now Trump told us publicly the other day that Israel didn't invent the Iron Dome. We did. We gave it to him as a gift, and I told Netanyahu to stop telling people he invented it. Okay, now that is false. 2 Israeli companies invented it some years ago, not America. Trump's lying. But Trump may not be lying. Trump might think it's real. Senator Ed Markey, Markey, of Massachusetts, has publicly called for invoking the 25th Amendment to remove President Trump, saying they believe he is unfit to serve at this time. Now, that could change. These calls are public statements and political positioning, not a formal constitutional action yet. Okay, so no official 25th Amendment process has been begun, but it starts with talking. Okay, so Markey of Massachusetts, a Democrat, tweeted that Trump should be removed under the 25th Amendment, saying the cabinet and Vice President Vance should act. Now, we need to get into how this works. Other lawmakers, including some representatives, that's congressmen, they're not senators, they're representatives, have voiced similar calls in response to Trump's recent remarks and behavior. Now we'll get into how 25 works, Article 25, but I need to take a quick break, guys, and I'll be right back. And I'll explain to you how it works, and we'll get into the timing and what it looks like and why are they doing this. And I'll be right back. Well, it's not for you. You don't need apple. Now, some of you might say, well, they're always trying to impeach him and stuff like that. And you'd be right. But they're not trying to impeach him. They're trying to declare him nuts. It's not the same thing. An impeachment works like this. And they may do that also, by the way. It starts in the House of Representatives. They get so many votes, and the House votes, and if you get I don't know if it's a majority or 2/3. Let me check. I think I have it. All right, let's go through at first. We'll do the Article 25. It's supposed to start with the vice president and a simple majority of the cabinet. They basically send a written declaration to Congress saying the president is unable to perform duties. Now, this could happen if Trump had an operation. Let's say he needed a lung transplant, just to pick some. So he's going to be laid up for 6 weeks, heavily medicated and all that. Okay. So they go to Congress and they say, he's having surgery, he's going to be laid up for 6 weeks. Now, the president himself could do this also without needing the vice president and the cabinet, but that would be a temporary cessation of duties that's rather predictable time-wise. So 6 weeks could be a month, it could be 8 weeks, but they get it, that kind of thing. This is rather a permanent situation, really. So Congress accepts their written declaration, and the president is now not acting as president, and the vice president immediately becomes the president. Now, that's if the president is going along with this. If the president is objecting to this, then he sends a letter to the Congress basically saying, no, I'm okay. Then what happens? The vice president and the cabinet have 4 days to reassert the incapacity. So they've got to redo it again, take a vote, get the majority, get the vice president on board, and send it to them again. They got to do it a second time. Now, what would happen if they did it the first time? Trump objects, and then he fires every member of the cabinet that voted against him. What would happen? None of us know. I don't think it ever happened yet. I don't know. That's a gray area. We don't know. So then, if this happens a second time, and you got the 4 days and they resubmit it the second time to Congress, what happens then? Now, mind you, this happens only if the president opposes it. Says, no, I'm okay. The Congress votes, and they need 2/3 of both houses, the House of Representatives and the Senate. They must both agree to keep the president away from his duties. If both the Senate and the House don't agree with 2/3 majority, Trump becomes, stays president with all his powers. Trump says things that are not true, that are not founded in reality. Trump is not consistent. He keeps changing his mind. Trump betrayed the protesters of Iran. Trump, the big thing is this. Trump started the Board of Peace to replace the UN, giving himself a chairmanship for life, okay? Giving himself veto power, giving himself the power to block countries from voting. Trump made himself some sort of a dictator with this thing. Some sort. Trump did not say the United States has a permanent chairmanship over this forever, and the president or his delegate can administer the position. He didn't say that. So Trump is using the presidency of the United States to form this thing and set himself up as the chairman for life. And this thing currently has about 25 countries doing it. I think he'll probably get it up to 30 or even 33 or something like that, which is serious. And Russia's supposedly joining. It's got some good-sized countries, and they're going to give themselves diplomatic immunity that's going to be recognized amongst themselves minimally. And then they could go to the UN and they could, I don't know what they can do. But that they're not going to have military is a joke, because they can't do anything without a military. They're not going to have a standing army. What Trump is trying to do is use this organization to disarm Gaza. That means the United States Congress and the United States Supreme Court, the two checks and balances over Trump, have nothing to do with what Trump's doing in Gaza now. They can't stop it. So what they have to do if they want to stop it is stop Trump. This is going too far. Do you understand? If Trump gets impeached and he's the chairman of this organization, he's going to have diplomatic immunity. He'll have the United States, by executive order, recognize the diplomatic immunity of the board of directors of the Board of Peace. Okay? Now he's got diplomatic immunity when he's not president. He'll set Mar-a-Lago up as an embassy of the Board of Peace. You're getting the picture? Would a sane person do this? In my opinion, no. Is it likely he can get away with this? No. What if the cabinet and Vance don't want to pursue the Article 25? That doesn't happen. Can Vance himself jam it up? Yep. Does it look like Vance is going to do it? I don't know. See, what could behind this is they could have had 10 or 15 generals that have been talking to congressmen that they're friends with and they know for years. And the generals could be saying, man, you're not hearing what Trump's telling us. He's gone. He's in Gaga land. So if that's the case, and Vance is not going to do this, but he might, but if he's not, then they got to resort to an impeachment. And do they have enough grounds for the Board of Peace to be a violation of the Constitution? I would give that a 99%. Let's research that real quick and see if we can get anywhere. These artificial intelligences are very good with the law. All right, let me figure out how to phrase it. Regarding the creation of Trump called the Board of Peace, and him being the chairman of it for life and having veto power and blocking vote power, is this thing Trump created a violation of the United States Constitution? Because the Congress has no veto power over it, there's no checks and balances with the Supreme Court. Let's see. It's saying it doesn't think it is a violation. The Constitution only governs the U.S. government, and people exercising U.S. government power. That could be right. So then they're saying it's not a constitutional violation. They're saying it might be a private or international initiative. All right, let's try a different thing. You got to help AI because it doesn't think like a person. What about constitutional problems if Trump and others use the Board of Peace to raise a military force to do something like, let's say, physically destroy Hamas in Gaza? And what AI says is this is the right question because this is exactly where things. Oh, I lost it. Wait a minute. Maybe I didn't lose it. Hold on. All right, it says this would be a serious, likely fatal constitutional violation if Trump or anyone used the Board of Peace to raise, fund, command, or deploy a military force to attack Hamas in Gaza Strip. It would violate multiple core provisions of the U.S. Constitution. There you go. That was it. and they have no enforcement unless they raise their soldiers from within their own countries. That's the only way they can do enforcement. That's different from a standing army. They just raise the soldiers when they need it. So if he issues a binding U.S. policy through the Board of Peace, Trump's violating the Constitution. If he controls U.S. funds through the Board of Peace or directs military or diplomatic actions through the Board of Peace or commits the U.S. internationally without Senate consent. So, in other words, if he says, oh, yeah, we each got to send in 5,000 soldiers to get rid of Gaza and kill Hamas and clean it up, and he sends American soldiers to Gaza based on the Board of Peace without getting the proper permissions from the Congress, he's breaking the Constitution. See, he's doing something bad here for himself. See, you're supposed to have the Senate consent to appoint officials into bodies like this Board of Peace or something. But Trump just appointed himself. It's one problem. Trump joining the Board of Peace, let alone forming it, is supposed to be with Senate permission. There is no Senate permission. Am I telling you the Board of Peace is an unconstitutional exercise that Donald conducted? Yes. If there's any sort of treaty or truce thing like with Hamas, like, you disarm and you can live and you can leave Gaza and we're not going to prosecute you, and he doesn't do anything through the Senate, it's a violation. He's doing it through the Board of Peace. He's not doing it as the President of the United States strictly and solely. If he did that, he'd need the Senate. So he's trying to bypass the Senate by using this cockamamie organization. If he funds any of this with the United States money and he doesn't get Congress involved, he's got a problem. In other words, he's got problems coming and going. If they just sit there and they take a vote and they say, we voted and we recommend strongly, for the sake of human rights and the freedom and well-being of the world, that Hamas disarm and leave Gaza, and that's where it ends, nothing happens. Not a thing. But if they try to do any kind of enforcement, it falls apart constitutionally. So, in other words, it would be like if Trump bought a newspaper or social media and said the best thing Hamas could do is surrender and leave Gaza and just go about their merry business and we never see or hear from him again. Nobody in Congress is going to say a word about that. Yeah, Trump said it. Who cares what he said? He can say what he wants, right? Uh, but that's not the case here. The Constitution doesn't forbid somebody for being chairman for life of some private entity, even a global entity. So if he built something that said the board of hotels and he made himself chairman of the board of hotels and they would run around and discuss hotel projects or whatever, something like that. But if they started raising a military and attacking hotels they didn't like, that is basically what Trump is doing. He's crazy, guys. You got to get this down. Well, you understand, he's using the Board of Peace to build hotels in Gaza. I'm serious. That's what he's doing with this. But he's going to use military. He's going to massacre Hamas, 30,000 people, based on a decision from this idiot organization that he formed and killed 30,000 people and expect the Congress to sit still. He's crazy. You got to understand that he's nuts. He's like a character from a W.C. Fields movie or The Three Stooges or Abbott and Costello. He's gone. You see, once this entity, Board of Peace, starts getting official recognition as something other than Ford Motor Company or Chevron Oil, a private company like Walmart, once they start getting recognized as something else, then Trump's breaking the Constitution. And they've got provisions to raise military. Does Walmart raise a military? Does Ford Motor Company raise a military? The army of Ford Motor Company, and they got tanks and machine guns and planes and helicopters? Of course not. It becomes unconstitutional if this Board of Peace binds U.S. policy. Well, what the heck do you think it's doing now? If it spends U.S. money, yeah. If it bypasses Congress or the Senate, yeah. If it exercises real governmental power, yeah. Or force. It's an imitation of the United Nations. That's what Trump's representing it to. Is the United Nations just a private company like Walmart? No. Do they have an army? Yeah, they have blue berets and everything else. They have tanks that say UN on them, armored cars that say UN, uniforms, payroll for military. They got UN intelligence. They got UN police. They got diplomatic passports where they get immunity. Does Walmart get immunity? Chevron, Ford, GM, do they get immunity passports? No. Look, Congress has got no power over this, and the President of the United States is using it as a personal tool to accomplish what he wants in current events in the world. And he's doing it without the Senate and the approval of Congress. That's what's really happening here. Okay. And as soon as he begins to use it, which it looks like will happen any minute now or any day, Congress can impeach him. Now, remember, if Congress just interprets this as illegal and it's not, and they impeach him, it's going to stand. There's no real appellate court for an impeachment. It doesn't exist. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court is supposed to oversee the proceedings. But if he lets it go, which he might likely do, because he's being pushed out of control too, because he can't get any control over what the executive branch does if he does it through the Board of Peace. So there's likely they're going to just shut it down. And then what happens? Then Trump is considered impeached, which means he's no longer president. He's out. Now, I told you before, from my study of prophecy, it was comparing Trump to another political figure. He's going to, if I have that right, he's going to not be impeached, but assassinated. That's another story. Now, I could have that wrong, but I don't think I do. But I don't know. Maybe impeachment is like assassination. I don't know. Maybe they won't impeach him, or maybe they will. But do I think they can impeach him or Article 25 him before he attacks Iran? No. I don't believe it. It would be like you wake up this afternoon or something and you see, oh, Vance and a majority of the cabinet submitted to Congress that Trump's he lost his marbles, and they say, well, okay, you take control of the presidency, and then Trump writes a letter and says, what are you talking about? I'm fine. Now they go back and they give the vice president 4 days to conduct another vote, but then Trump keeps insisting, so then you need 2/3 of each house to say they agree and throw him out of office. And that's pretty difficult to do, to get 2/3 out, but he's creating a high hate level for himself because he's doing stupid things like this. No president ever behaves this way. It's like idiot behavior, you know what I mean? So, as I've told you many times, when you administer a lot of spiritual warfare to people, they crack up. I've been doing this for about 35 years, actually a little longer, and I've seen this kind of thing happen over and over. They get crazy. And if you get off them and leave them alone, after a while, they might not be that crazy again because the demons fill them with their lies and they get into that. And but right now I think Trump is in the loony bin, and that could mean that there never really will be an attack on Iran. It may get stopped. They may be sitting around in their offices planning it now. I don't know. Or not. Now, they may want to get rid of Iran. I don't know. They may want to get rid of Iran, and then if it doesn't work out well, they blame it on Trump so they don't look bad. That could happen too. Let's take a quick look at gold and silver and see if it broke the barriers yet. Oh, I believe it will. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. What's going on here with this piece of junk? Apple products. I can't believe Apple operates like some substandard Chinese company and doesn't update, and you can't make websites work. You can't push on buttons, and what bunch of jerks to release something like that. And it's not just with one browser; it's with multiple browsers. It doesn't work. It's really a bunch of like they're operating like idiots. Maybe they're getting too much tossed salad too. I don't know. The current figure now is it went down slightly. Gold is 49.13, and silver is 98 even. So this, what's going on? So in the meantime, if Congress doesn't do anything, we're going to maybe see an attack by Trump on Iran this weekend. I would say it depends on the George Bush aircraft carrier group being in theater or not, and I think they are in theater. And the Lincolns should be in theater by today or tomorrow. And that would be showtime. And I don't know what's going to happen to Israel. I know that God's got to break Israel off of their IDF. These people are trusting in the military, not God. And that has to come to an end. When you're trusting in the two witnesses, you're not trusting in man, you're trusting in elected representatives of God, Enoch and Elijah, that are empowered by God to protect and serve the people, not their own interests like Trump. They're here to help the people. You don't run from the two witnesses, you run towards them like a big brother. Those are your friends. If you're a real believer, those are your friends. You don't run away from them. So Netanyahu is very quiet. He's not talking at all about attacking Iran. Nobody is. All we're talking about here, we're hearing talk of, is the government, not so much the government, the IDF is on high alert, very high alert. And that's to protect Israel. High alert's to protect us, not to attack. So we still have no idea how many iron beam systems there are, the laser takedown systems there are in Israel. We don't know yet. It could be there's only one, or it could be that Netanyahu got 30 of them. I don't know. I think he's maybe got 10. I don't know. I don't know. Nobody's talking. Do the government know? Of course the government knows. The people in the military know, yeah, but they're not letting it out. But as soon as they're deployed, we'll know. I mean, it'll be common knowledge. So, uh, this war, if it goes, can be of catastrophic proportion. It could start. All you got to see is China, Russia, North Korea, Belarus decide they want to get in on it. They don't want to lose Iran. And when that happens, you're going to see what they refer to as World War. And yes, you guys in Europe, South America, Asia, North America may be affected very directly and easily. And this might be it. This might lead us to Zechariah 12 and Jeremiah 50:51 in a matter of days. I'm telling you, you're not going to know when it's going to happen. It's going to come suddenly in an hour, in a day, when you don't understand it. It's just going to come. So, what should you do? Lift up your head, redemption draweth nigh. It's closer and closer and closer. All right, let's do a prayer for everybody. My Heavenly Father, Yehovah, B'Shem Yeshua Mashiach, I pray for all the true believers in their households and me and my wife. I pray for our strength, stamina, and endurance, and your healing and recuperative power to flow through us, that we keep getting healed every day of things we need to be healed of. And I pray that us and our animals and pets would be safe and secure and happy, healthy, and whole. And I pray we have no accidents, no tickets, no breakdowns, no mishaps, no transportation problems, no problems with our houses and repairs of any sort to anything, our equipment, houses, vehicles, whatever. Our businesses, our business equipment, the same, protected. And I pray that we're not victims of discrimination on any level from any entities. And we don't have things robbed, stolen, ripped off, scammed, frauded. Our packages get delivered appropriately. I pray that I can do better videos and that I pray that we have adequate funds money, what we need, and then some. I pray that if we need work, a job, we find it, we get a good job, good work. If we need clients, customers for our businesses, we have that. I pray that we don't get oppressed or have problems from governments, lawyers, courts, judges, neighbors, employers, co-workers, family. I pray we understand the scriptures better. And I pray we could come to Israel and have places to bring people. And I pray we could bear much good fruit. And I guess I pray all this to you. Oh, I pray for the peace of Yerushalayim, and I pray all this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and I send my Shabbat Shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. So now's when we got to really do the watching, because we know that the Lincoln aircraft carrier is probably in position by this minute. or close to it. Maybe this afternoon it'll be closer to Iran in position. And I don't know where the Bush aircraft carrier group is, but I think it's out in the Mediterranean, probably around Cyprus, but that's my guess. Which would be position, I think, or maybe not. I don't know. But it looks like we're good to go, or darn close to it. And that's it. I'm out, guys. Thank you.